viewers, welcome to the Sunday Guardian Soliloquy by Joyeeta Basu. Today I thought that I am going to speak a little bit about the UK-India Free Trade Agreement that was finally signed after 3 long years of negotiation. The formal signature happened on 24th July 2025, Thursday in London. Now, why is this so significant? You see, India-UK trade relationship, bilateral trade is something, it's a quote unquote minuscule deal in terms of around $23 billion give and take here and there a little bit. Now, the expectation is that there is going to be, because of this FTA, the trade is going to increase by $34 billion, bilateral trade I am talking about, but $34 billion every year, and by 2030 it is expected that the total volume of India-UK trade is going to be in the range of $120 billion, which is not a mean feat, it is a big figure. Now, when we are looking at what exactly the FTA is about, now there are broadly two segments. There is the goods sector, trade in goods, and then there is trade in services. Now, when it comes to trade in goods, what is happening is that 99% of Indian exports to the UK will be now duty free, and when it comes to UK, from 15% tariffs on different products that the British companies were paying, that comes down to 3%. Now, you see, UK is a very big market. So, which are the sectors in India that will benefit from this FTA? Now, these are primarily textile, garments, seafood, gems, jewellery, leather, engineering products, and you see, say to give two examples, say for example, when it comes to marine products, basically shrimps that Indian fishermen and the fishing industry exports abroad, that market itself is valued in the range of $5 billion in the UK. So, India has access to that market now, with almost duty free access, which is huge if you ask me. And then clothes, textiles and garments. I mean, India can now directly compete with countries like Bangladesh and Cambodia, which have the countries that have this access, with lower duties and all this, because they are developing countries, lower LDC countries and all, they have certain access. Now, our manufacturers will now get this kind of access. Now, when it comes to what the UK is going to sell up, the British are selling us, whiskey. They are estimating something around $1 billion worth of his whiskey they will be sending to India. Then there is supposed to be the aerospace components, and then you see, as a result of which, what is happening, it's big business for them as well. Now this is primarily, this FTA is also very, I would say, state focused, because if you see what our government is doing is that they are saying about, they have named around 10 or 11 states from where the manufacturers and the weavers, say Baluchari sari from West Bengal will now be available in the UK at a cheaper rate. And so these states primarily are Kerala, Bengal, Punjab, lots of the total 10-11 states are benefiting directly because of this. Now, what is important is that this is the trade in goods part, and when we are talking about, there is the trade in services part. What exactly is trade in services part providing? Professional mobility has been made easier for Indians. So, easier visa process for Indian professionals. Now, and contractual service suppliers, meaning, those people who send labor abroad for manual work. So, it becomes easier for them as well. Then there are business visitors, investors, intra-corporate transfers and independent professionals. They get easier visas. Now, there is something very interesting in terms of double contribution convention on social security agreement, now which exempts Indians on short term visas from, and who are in UK assignments for less than 3 years. They do not have to pay, otherwise it is mandatory that you have to pay to UK's national insurance contribution you have to make. That Indians on short-term visas, on short-term professional work going there, they will not have to do that. Now, of course, there are rumblings in the UK about it, but if there is problem later on this factor, we will see it later. In terms of market access, now India is getting, yes, of course, services sector is also going to provide with IT and healthcare. These are the two areas that India gets access to the UK market. And apart from that, we can also take our telecom services to the UK, while UK is getting better access to financial services like insurance, then professional services and renewable energy firms. Now, there is going to be digital trade also between the two countries, cooperation in e-commerce, cyber security. So, you see, so how are we benefiting in this? Benefits for India is job creation in India's labor intensive sectors, and when it comes to the UK, in their services and manufacturing sectors, they are benefiting in a major way. Now, and consumer benefits, when you are talking about consumer benefits, UK is getting cheaper Indian say clothes, jewelry, seafood. So, whatever we are exporting, that is going to be much cheaper for the UK consumer. And for the Indians, say for example, whiskies, cars, chocolates. Now, all these things become much cheaper for Indian consumers. Now, what are the strategic implications? Now, post Brexit, this is UK's most significant trade deal that they have signed, and because it is also giving a huge boost to their economy. So, this whole thing about only Europe as a whole will be signing an agreement. One of the reasons why they had come out, Britain had come out of the European Union, was that they did not want to follow EU policies and wanted to carve out a trade policy of its own, and now that Brexit has been validated by having this major trade deal with India. And when it comes to India, what is happening is that it is reducing India's reliance on China to a large extent, and India also is diversifying its market. It is diversifying, it is getting more allied with developed economic markets, with the global supply chain, it is getting more aligned with that. So, you see, it is a win-win for both. Of course, there will be problems, there will be niggling doubts, that still investment is still being worked out between the two countries, some kind of an investment agreement. But overall, it is a very good thing that has happened, and for India also, it is a major FTA. Think of what is happening with the USA for that matter. And I put it in context and you realize what a major bright spot this particular agreement is. Now, by mid 2026, this agreement is likely to be implemented. So, there is a lot to look forward to in terms of India-US strategic relations, trade relations, business relations, people-to-people relations. Let us hope, as I talked about it, win-win situation for both countries. Thank you for watching.